because it's not just one, because Nneka's been playing at a high level. She had a kind of a rough game in Minnesota. I mean, just I think a good amount of it came in that start because there were a few times, and I think about it, I think of Dick Vane yelling. Because there was one instance where Nneka missed like two or three shots, but was getting her own rebound and was able to put it back up. And he's like, one, two, three. I can't really do the strained voice. I don't want to do it. Sounds like he's been yelling for hours. She didn't have as efficient of a game as she normally does. Again, when I think of Nneka Ogwumike, I think of efficiency. I really do. Um, but she's been massive for you. You think of the records that she's been breaking every single game, it feels like. And Skylar Diggins has been playing at a really high pace. I said it coming into the season, and it continues to be true. I thought that she was just going to pick up from where we saw her look last year in the second half. After she seemed more comfortable, more settled in, with this new team, with what Noe said, her new body after having her second child. Um, and even the quieter games, like she had a quieter game against Vegas per se, and it was still close to a double double. Like, you know. Um, in this one, yeah, still I mean 18, so your second leading scorer against Minnesota. And I think you guys mentioned at the top of the show she had a few turnovers to begin the game, but didn't have any the rest of the way, or only a few, right? Like
None.
got
I
wiped.
believe she had six in the first, what, 5 minutes, and then none the rest of the game.
Yeah. So like, you know, they've both been playing great. So I guess it's just to ask like what you've seen, because I mean, again, we all know this. This team like will need the production that these two are giving you, right? I think the biggest thing for Seattle is what the rest of the team gives you, and we've talked about that, right? So I guess we need to talk about these two because they've earned that. These two are two legends of the league, two eventual Hall of Famers, and they continue to get it done. So I guess just any thoughts on what we've seen from Sky and Nneka in their second years in Seattle, as they again continue to lead the charge. Again, Gabby's been having her games. And we can acknowledge that for sure. But these two, as Christian posted, was it yeah, yesterday? That these are two MVP candidates. So I mean, for either of you, just thoughts on the way that they've been producing and how valuable they've been, because I know Nneka was shooting the three to begin the year. Um, Skylar had that. What was it? She tied the franchise record for assists in was it the Phoenix game? So, they've both continued to, look great.
Who
Yeah,
wants to go?
the
You go. Yeah.
oh,
You go ahead.
um, you know, I'm not really worried about the Nneka game yesterday. She shot 4 for 14, but on the other end, she was defending an MVP candidate herself, Fee, majority of the game, and Fee kind of had a bad game herself. She's at 7 for 18, very uncharacteristic. Like, yes, they still won, but then again, Minnesota has the pieces to kind of combat any type of bad games that she generally doesn't really have, which is Seattle gave her one. Every other game this season, she scored more than 20 points, 25 points. She had 16 yesterday. So I think that's kind of something to hang your hat on going further down the line. Like, what works. I mean, there were stretches in the game where Dom came in. I'm just like, wait, no, that was the previous game before against Phoenix. Wait, did Dom play last night?
She did.
Yeah,
She
she played 10
played 10
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah, she didn't see. I knew I saw her last night. I don't know
But
why these games started to feel like because they played 3 games in 5 days, so I'm kind of confused. But yeah, even when Dom came in and played against Fee a little bit, I'm like, okay, so this is gonna work. Like you have someone that you can go to outside of SE and NECA, and kind of spell them into down the season. Yeah, but she's right now. Her and Skylar are top 10 in scoring. I believe NECA is at sixth in rebounds right now. She's at right under 10 at 9.8. I mean, she's producing just the way we thought she would. Yeah, the 3-point shot made, I've been around like 42% it was like for the first couple of games. But I mean, we always knew that she wasn't going to end up being one of the best 3-point shooters in the team. But then again, yeah, 5 other players taking over attempt and a half, 2 attempts, shooting well over league average into the 40s. I mean, it doesn't really matter that much. But also, that just spaces the floor around her so much more to get her active shots around the rim. That pull up me that she loves in the lane. She's playing at arguably probably the best 5 game stretch of her career to start the game, start the year, going into the Minnesota game. And that's crazy that she's entering year 14. Like, she's no spring chicken. She'll tell you that herself. Every time they heard the word veteran last year, Skylar was saying, "Hey, you feel like y'all calling us old." Like, they said it a couple times. But yeah, they're still at the pinnacle of their careers. And I just think that having a coach like Noe and a system in place the way that it does, they kind of get the best out of them without kind of deserting them, which is what they've really known their entire careers. I mean, it's crazy to think that Skylar through those first couple games like the highest features of her career. And then out of nowhere, you got multiple players scoring double digits regularly now, Like, how many minutes did Skylar play last night? She played
32.
32. I mean, she was playing 37. She was playing Kelsey Plum minutes start the season. I mean, there was that one game I think Gabby played. Was just the first Phoenix game or the second one? I can't remember. But she played like every single minute. Like that's not going to be the case going forward. And I think quickly that Noel Quinn realized that I have ample players to go to. That's kind of what she saw in the Minnesota game, which is why like that game is kind of something to hang your head on going down the season. Skylar didn't have the greatest game, but then again, she's been under so much pressure, as the lead guard and then kind of the main producer on the wing when Erica's not in the game. Sometimes it kind of feels like last year a little bit when she was kind of expected to carry the entire load, at least on the outside. Again, that's not saying that Gabby isn't great at the two, she is, but as a natural guard, that's not her position. You know, she's doing good at it. I mean, she's playing some of the best basketball since she's been in the Storm jersey. But at the same time, to get the most out of Gabby out of her what she does, she got to slide down some three. That also helps Skylar take the pressure off her. She gets them off the ball more. And like I don't think you really want um Skylar to have to be on the ball as much, bringing the ball up the court, especially in the half court sets, and especially just in stretches like yesterday. You saw that she didn't really have to. And I think that's kind of the main reason why she's playing so well. She kind of has that faith and belief in players behind her to get most out of them. And that's kind of what I think Ezzy touched on in the pressure last night. It's just how the stars have to start better to get the bench, not put them in kind of bad situations like they had to come into the first quarter and the first half in general. I think Scott has been kind of a big reason why the production, at least from really everyone, is shooting relatively well. And I think just because the way she's kind of dishing and dashing for really everybody. Last year it was kind of the first year in the system, and she was really kind of only setting up plays for Ezzy Nneka. If those are bigs, they're running the pick and roll really a lot more type of season. I don't think have you guys noticed that this year? They're not really doing it this year. Like I thought that was just me. I was just like, okay, it's kind of just like a more of a go ahead.
I mean, that was kind of, again, we always say no hate to Mercedes Russell, but that was, kind of all she was doing when she was coming in last season was, you just see setting the screen and then you kind of lose her. She wasn't really doing anything else offensively. And yeah, it looks different.
It does. It looks different in like the best way possible because everyone is really eating in a way that we didn't see last year. And I think, with Skyler at the head, they talk about the head of the snake, it really only makes her better. That's why she's having such a great year. Um, you know, we were worried that 1 or 2 games are like, yo, Skyler can't play 40 minutes a game, man. It's like she can't be having to drop 27 points a game just to be in the game. And then out of nowhere, like we just said, 4 players scoring double digits regularly. So yeah. MVP candidates, happy to see what they're doing. I think it will continue because I do think this is what we've seen so far. I think it can be repeated over time. So yeah, we'll see.
I mean, I think you covered it. We know like you look at the stats, you see how they're doing, you see also just how they're doing at this point in their career. They're definitely in the MVP conversation. So outside of that, I think what's interesting is when we're talking about how they've been producing offensively, kind of mixed with our whole starting lineup conversation. I was just looking at it, and it is interesting to see that Erica Wheeler does have more assists than Alicia Clark. And as Noel always says, I'd have to look at the film to say this definitively, but It is interesting to see, I'd be interested to really pay more attention to how, what Skylar's offensive production looks like with Erica on the floor versus with Alicia on the floor. You have, both Skylar and Erica really, kind of racking up the assists. And it just feels like yeah, again, I can't say definitively, but it is interesting to look at that and seeing how I want to pay more attention as we go forward to how Nneka and Skylar play depending on the different units on the floor. But either way, I mean, they both are looking great at just creating their own shot and being able to take on that offensive load. But yeah, I mean, I think again, time will tell with just how can that continue throughout the season? Would I fully believe that it will. They're both very experienced, and in that they know how to kind of conserve their energy for a 40 game season. But I think you look at what Ezzy Magbagore's stats have been recently, and just kind of wondering if there will be a point where those points in the paint kind of need to be coming from her a little bit more if, we get to a point in the season where there's a little bit of a lull. But I think that really that pressure, when you have that pressure off, that people are going to, Isaiah Cook is going to come in and Lee Yeru is going to come in and really help that defense to create your offense. I think that that's been huge for, why Skylar and Nneka have been so successful.
So I've got the on-off numbers.
Thank you. This is so
It's
helpful.
it's not good. It's not good. With Erica Wheeler off, offensive rating is at 98.5. The defensive rating is at 107.91. With Alicia Clark on, or with Alicia Clark off, offensive rating is at 103.2. Defensive rating,
Fascinating.
defensive
Fascinating.
rating is 78.1. So defense is bad when she's off. Offense is good when she's off. So it's like,
Yet another thing to take into consideration. I think that that's something that I feel like this season has really been so far is what are all the different things that we have to think about when we're, thinking about, just making a quick judgment. I mean, I know most people, they're like, oh, Erica Wheeler, she's averaging more points on the stat sheet, looks better. Why isn't she in the starting lineup? And I think, that is a perfectly fine thing to say, but it is really interesting to think about the money, to think about the stats that aren't as fully accessible, just on the box score and just how everyone is working together. I think that that's kind of what I'm going to be looking at a bit more. And it was also, again, going back to the Phoenix game, the second Phoenix game, just seeing the way that, Noelle was really shuffling around who was on the court together. And I think that that's been a lot stronger of a point of emphasis than I feel like it was last season. So another, positive, but very interesting to look at. Thank you for pulling up those stats.
Yeah, it's that's the thing, right? Is well, we might not, and I think we acknowledged this when the roster dropped. We might not always understand the decisions that are made, whether it's roster wise, whether it's minutes, so on and so forth, rotation. There's reasoning for all this shit. Like you don't get to professional sports without some reasoning in your decisions. Like, there's just so many instances of that. Don't get me wrong, there are certainly franchises that run that make decisions that aren't very well thought through. Um, but there's stuff like they go back to the deflections. Maybe there's stuff that we're not seeing there from stuff. They keep track of a lot. They mention things that they keep track of, and like Rowan brought up, we always talks about the film. There's stuff I'm sure that they're seeing in their film that they enjoy from some of these players. So, um, I guess to round out, unless there's something that you guys thought of, I was kind of thinking of Gabby Williams because I mean, as Chris, I think it was the Dallas game. I think it was the Dallas game where she played 39 minutes, and I'm like, that's not great. Like and I think it was brought up in the post game. She was like, "Oh, she's built for this. Like she can do this." As it was brought up, she doesn't have an off season, despite what someone asked her. Um, you know, I I I've been very pleasantly surprised with her offensive production. You guys talked about the 3-point percentage. She had 20 points last night. I think if I read it correctly, no, sorry, this was a Dick Fane thing on the broadcast I was listening to. He said it was the sixth time in her career she scored 20 points. Um, I mean, I've been very pleasantly surprised. Like I'm tracking this and I'm like doing this is helpful as always because I love to hear what you guys say, of course.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, were you going to watch the Seattle Storm away games this year?
Away games. Well, Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports. So I was thinking of coming here if that's okay with you.
I think that makes a lot of sense. See you all here.